All right, so we were lucky enough to snag a little bit of Abby's time and bring her back into the Good Energy studio here. It just seemed like a timely moment when so much is happening in Washington, revolving around tariffs and trade policy, and obviously the budget negotiations in Congress. And she is living and breathing this every day, both here in the Beltway and also on the road, doing all these different engagements and meeting with members. So she's got some interesting and important stories to tell about what we're doing and where we're going.
Right. There's never a dull moment in Washington.
Yeah.
Abby's, she's on the road a lot, but she's here as well, talking to members of Congress, talking to members of the administration, sort of leading the charge when it comes to how we thread the needle at this particular moment in time. Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that folks had a chance to hear what her gut instincts are right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities in the very near term and in the medium term for all of the folks in the industry and those listening at home to make their part of this and make their voice heard. So she's got a good call to action for our industry to make some moves over the next couple of weeks while Congress is out listening to constituents, and we're at a pretty pivotal moment to make sure we're locking this down. So
right, 100%. We are not sitting on our hands.
No.
So folks should listen to this episode to talk about what they can do to make sure they're doing the same thing. Abby, we're so glad to have you back on the podcast. There's a lot of things happening fast in Washington, and it's time for our listeners to hear from you again. So given all of the headlines, the announcements coming out of the White House, give us your take on what's happening lately.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back. There's so much happening. It's a little bit hard to know where to start. So I'll start on the Hill and work my way down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Great.
So as you guys know, on Saturday, the Senate passed the latest budget resolution. And so it's back in the House of Representatives' hands now. The Speaker has said he's going to push it through this week before the Easter recess. And how he's going to do that, I'm unclear. When exactly he's going to do that, he's unclear. And so that is a very live issue right now, right? And so we have members coming to town tomorrow and Wednesday to lobby. We have other groups in town that are lobbying. So this is definitely a time to make our voices heard. So we're doing that in lots and lots of different ways. And then if we start marching down Pennsylvania Avenue, I think we're all still trying to make sense of Liberation Day last week and kind of what that cascading waterfall? I don't know. Cascading waterfall of tariffs means. Right. How durable are they? What are they going to look like in practice? Are there going to be some countries that are exempted? What does that exemption process look like? So it feels, when I'm talking to companies right now, the message I'm hearing is this is really bad and very uncertain. And then, as we'll probably find out later today, there's more executive orders coming on our energy issues, and in particular, prioritizing coal. We haven't seen the order itself, but certainly all intel in Washington is that it will use a variety of existing federal powers to prioritize generation from coal.
You mentioned the sort of uncertainty, which I feel like has to be dominating a lot of people's, boardrooms and internal conversations. Like when you're talking to some of our member companies, does it just feel like there's we have to hold on to the chair and just wait until we know more? Or what's the appetite for digging into these details like the tariffs, or is it just kind of hold on and see what's next?
Yeah. I would say what I think companies are doing right now, because they're telling me that's what they're doing right now, is moving as fast as possible to try to safe harbor as much as they can. So in terms of the ITC, meeting either the 5% or the start construction safe harbors, because I think we feel pretty confident that those kinds of guidelines for certainty are likely to remain in place. So it feels like a lot of activity, right? And then certainly companies that have the balance sheet it is not, no one should be surprised that the president has imposed tariffs, right? So
Right.
companies with balance sheet have been trying to bring product over. And I think so the sort of immediate feels sort of certain. I think it's that next round of contracts, the next round of procurement, the next, 2026 that is looking very uncertain. So when I'm talking to companies, they talk a lot about sort of, as an industry, we are used to dealing with uncertainty,
Sure.
but this one definitely feels like, if you have 3 areas to have uncertainty, they're all 3 blowing up at the same time. And it really is impacting kind of the next round of contracting and procuring and building.
Yeah.
And it's across the board. It's not just solar and storage.
Yeah.
Every industry is facing the same challenge. So for those that have inventory, 4 months of inventory, I think for our industry, it might be even more than that, 6 months to a year's worth of inventory. There's not any companies that are coming to us saying, hey, we're not going to launch.
Right.
Because everybody's strapping in for the next few weeks to see what the president's going to do. As these deals are done, countries line up to start negotiating what their tariff percentages are going to look like.
Yeah.
So as reporters are asking a question and members are asking us questions, the bottom line is there's not enough information right now to indicate significant changes, it seems like.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you would say about
I think
what we should expect.
I mean, if I agree with you, I personally would not be making big business decisions or procurement decisions based on what we know now, because it's likely to change, right? Like, I could tell you what we know now. I just can't tell you with any kind of confidence that it's going to remain stable or durable. I would say the other point I would make is that, like, the size of companies really matters, right? Because some companies are able to stockpile a year's worth of equipment, but a lot are not. And so there's sort of this reality to some of the smaller residential companies probably cannot do that, or some of the smaller developers, or like different kinds. You can imagine different kinds of transactions and contracting where people can like come up with new like financial products to help secure the supply chain. With folks that don't have as big a balance sheet to do that.
Okay, so jogging back down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back to Congress, yeah. We spent enough time over there. Let's. So this is a busy week, as it seems like they all are, with live budget negotiations. How would you characterize support for clean energy credits amongst the Congress at this moment in time?
At this moment in time, as we sit here today, I think it remains strong on the Hill. I think that there are a number of members of Congress on the Republican side who have seen the impact it's having, have seen the solar and storage and clean energy industry show up, have been visited by, businesses, we've had events in their districts, we've hosted fundraisers. Like, we have utilized the entire playbook of how you run a successful campaign. And so I feel pretty confident that the folks that we have been trying to persuade are being persuaded. And we're not alone in this, right? There's a lot of other groups and a lot of other voices, and that's exactly how it should be, right? This is the sign of a mature industry that brings in the financial market, that brings in, farmers, that brings in kind of all of these different constituencies that care deeply about this. So I'm feeling pretty good about the work we're doing in the Congress. I think there's just, again, back to your theme of the unknown, there are so many unknowns, even in terms of what we're solving for.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's heard me and Aaron and others say this. This is a math problem, right? Like, this is a math problem. And so we don't even know what we're solving for, because we don't know what all the numbers are yet. We'll get a little bit more clarity on that, hopefully, by the end of the week.
Yeah. And it just, it's a math problem with like 17 variables, and we're not sure which variables are going to come into play and how it's all going to shake out. But I think you're right. We're doing the work to solidify the support that we already have and build more. But there's some X factors out there that I don't think we can fully predict.
Yeah. So can we for a second talk about what we can control?
Yes.
Because I think let's say we get this out in the next couple of days. What would you tell our membership they need to be doing over the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the next 2 weeks is an important time. Members are going back home. So they're going to their district. They have a couple-week break from here in Washington. So I would encourage folks to literally call up the district office, say, I want to come in and meet either with the elected official, and if that person is available, with their district staff. Tell them why the continuation of the clean energy tax credits is so critical to their business, right? Like, how many jobs has it created? What kind of investment? And what's at risk, right? Not just what we have done, but what we will not do if this certainty goes away. I think that is so important. The other message that is resonating a lot is around affordability, right? Probably now more so than even a week ago, right? As other things start to shift. But utilities are talking about affordability. Obviously, the clean energy industry is talking about affordability. Members of Congress are talking about affordability. There have been study after study after study that have showed that. And that sometimes I have found in my advocacy strikes members of Congress in a way they didn't quite realize, right? They didn't quite understand sort of how the low cost of solar is having a impact and lowering the cost of all energy, and that taking away that will increase the cost to all consumers. And so I would encourage folks, when they're calling up their district offices, going to have a visit, to talk about that, talk about how important it is to keep energy costs low, and the clean energy tax credits are critical to that. We talk a lot about this, but there's, inviting people to ribbon cuttings and inviting people to whatever, fill in the blank. But that kind of experiential thing really matters.
Yeah. Double clicking into affordability for a second. The president right now is very obviously appealing to his base, his blue collar worker base, not paying paying close attention to, but disregarding stock prices. And I think there's a lot of people around the world who are pretty surprised by that.
Yeah.
So when we zero in on affordability, let's make that real for people, right? We're talking about if there were to be changes made to American clean energy tax incentives, that would mean an increase to utility bills the very next day, right? How would you encourage folks to talk about affordability?
Yeah.
Double clicking a couple layers into what that actually means.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I talk about it is that, the clean energy tax credits allow us to build some of the least expensive sources of electricity available to our nation. And if we take that away, we're left with higher price options. And so that means that when I open my bill from Pepco, I'm a Pepco customer, and I have that moment of like tightening in my stomach because I never know what that bill's going to be. It's going to go up, right? Like let's say this changes over the summer. By the fall, consumers will be having that experience of opening their bill, having that like moment in their stomach and saying, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill.
Right.
Especially in light of all of the other cost increases that are coming as a result of other policies. And so I think, we can get lost in sort of the language of prices go up, electricity goes up, the power markets are different. But it's like, no, like I am going to open my Pepco bill and it is going to be bigger than it was before because we're no longer producing the least expensive energy there is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, there's a tie-in too with, I think, what feels like the other giant topic in our circles, which is just rising demand from all sources. So, electricity demand is peaking and rising in ways that we haven't seen in decades. And we know that solar is one of the fastest to deploy, both at all scales, whether it's, on a rooftop or in utility scale applications. And so it kind of makes logical sense, right? Time is money. If we want to meet this demand and we want to meet it affordably, there's technology available right now, and doing away with policies that drive down costs for that readily available technology is counterintuitive or counterproductive. So.
Yeah. Well, and we're sort of at a point in our growth in the energy industry where we really do need all sources of electricity to be built, but they don't all take the same amount of time. Like, that is not a political statement.
No.
That is just a fact, right? That is a fact of supply chains and how long it takes to manufacture equipment and how long it takes to get things permitted. And so you can believe that we have electricity demand rising. You can believe that in order to maintain our advantage in the AI growth, that we need to keep that here. You can believe that we need more natural gas and nuclear energy. And you can also believe that could all happen, and we have to keep building solar as fast as possible.
Right.
And I think the interesting part is sort of all of the market players know that, right? Like the hyperscalers, the companies that are building, they understand that. Obviously, the clean energy industry understands that. I think some of the other technologies understand that as well. But there seems to be kind of a narrative that is somewhat divorced from the market realities.
Yeah, and focusing on one solution over another when we need all of them.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
It's we talk about this all the time, but SEIA's strategy aligns pretty closely with the president's in terms of American energy dominance, requiring solar and renewable energy sources. It's you can't do one without the other.
Right. And it's it is sort of ironic that American energy dominance, which is such a hallmark of the president, obviously is something that we've been talking about long before he was elected the second time. But also, when you think about any effort to be dominant, there's no world in which you would take some of your advantages off the table. Right? If you want to be dominant in running, you wouldn't only use really shitty running shoes, right? You would use the best running shoes.
Yeah.
If you want to be dominant in sparkling water production, you wouldn't take the water off the table, right? You would actually use the water that you have available to you.
Right.
And so, in a lot of ways, we like to think that energy is sort of unique and nuanced and it's our own special baby because we all think and talk and worry about it all the time. But it's just another product. And if we want to be dominant in this product, then we have to use. And one of the beautiful parts of this country is that we have been blessed with all of these resources and attributes. So how about this? Why don't we use them?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. So I've persuaded the two of you.
All right. I'm on board.
So our job here is done.
Yeah. But yeah, appreciate you you sort of driving home the messages that have been really landing, I think, and also, putting it out to the industry that now is the time to get involved if not, already. That we've got a good period of district work coming up. Lots of opportunities to tell the story, and negotiations are live and hot.
Right.
Live
and
hot.
Can we just say one more time that I think the president is hoping through all of these tariff negotiations to bring the domestic manufacturing industry back to the United States? Guess what? That's
here.
what the solar industry is doing right now.
Right.
So I'm hoping we can do everything we can to continue building on the momentum that we already have, especially in the storage space.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have so much opportunity to keep growing. That is the other piece. I would sort of talk about affordability and talk about the manufacturing, right? And the demand growth. Those are the three winning arguments.
Yep.
A lot of people think it's for many parents, it's spring break time. Spring break time is coming, sort of like spring break time for the legislators, right? They're going back home. They're leaving the campus of Washington, D.C., and they're going back home. And this is the time to go hear from them. We saw during their last work period how impactful those town halls were and how they greatly influenced the conversations that we're having in Washington. And so bringing that same kind of intensity and that same advocacy and that same clear message to this work period, this spring break of advocacy is super important.
Solar spring break. Let's do it.
Following hot summer solar.
Yeah, hot solar summer.
Hot solar summer.